let's move on now to item number 3. And the third topic today comes to us from Moises Alagar, who writes, one of the things I'm most looking forward to in Aquaman is Black Manta. I've loved the character for years, and I think he looked great in the Aquaman trailer. My only fear was that they do the typical superhero movie thing and kill him off. But I saw an interview with the Aquaman director who says that Black Manta is actually going to be a major player in the DC Universe movies in the future as well. Could this mean we'll eventually get a Black Manta standalone movie? All right. Well, first of all, Moises, it wasn't the Aquaman director. It wasn't James Wan who made that comment. It was actually a comment that you're referring to that comes from the producer of the movie. So it's one of the producers of the DCEU who's working on Aquaman, is one of the producers of Aquaman. And just so we all know what we're talking about, this was specifically what the producer of Aquaman had to say about this character. He said, "We certainly have every intention that Black Manta plays a very large role, not just in the Aquaman movie, in the DC universe. He has to. He's just too great. And we give him his origin story in this movie. We do show how Manta, that we see in the comic books, became that character." So once again, just let me read that top part again. "We certainly have every intention that Manta plays a very large role in the DC universe." So what we found out here, I mean, to me, that's huge. That's a huge little nugget they just dropped on us. That this character is not just going to be a big character. Now, it looks like from the trailer, and I could be wrong about this, but it doesn't even look like he's going to be the main villain in this movie. I mean, that kind of looks like it's going to be Ocean Master or King Orm, Aquaman's half-brother. But not only are they just saying he's going to be a big major character in this movie, they're saying moving forward, he's going to be a major player in the DC universe. That's intriguing. So that tells me that the plans they have for this guy are, they must love the character, they must have big plans for him, all that kind of stuff. The character design's great. I still wish the head was a little bit smaller. I got to admit, I still think the head should be a little bit smaller, but overall, it's a good looking design, all things considered. Here's the one thing that I wonder that might bother some people. Because I was on Twitter, a Twitter discussion with some people, and they were actually a little bit upset by this statement that they put out about Black Manta is going to be this big major character moving forward. And the reason they were upset was because they feel that that Black Manta quote kind of spoils or represents a little bit of a spoiler for the Aquaman movie. Because, you know, as one of my friends said, it's like, well, I guess now we know he doesn't die in Aquaman. Okay. But, and that's true. And I saw some other people kind of echo that sentiment, that they feel that that statement represents a bit of a spoiler. To me, I gotta say, it doesn't represent a spoiler to me. Because whether or not a character lives or dies, like unless the whole movie was about Aquaman, Black Manta, fight to the death. If that was the name of the movie, Aquaman, Black Manta, fight to the death. And then we find out that Black Manta doesn't die, well, maybe then that might represent a little bit of a spoiler, but generally speaking, a character lives or a character dies doesn't mean the character won or the character lost. It's just whether a character lives or dies. I gotta admit, most of the time, I don't think that information is really a spoiler. Now remember, I've got a bit of an extreme interpretation of the term spoiler. To me, a spoiler is a piece of information that if you know about it before seeing the movie, it fundamentally alters your viewing experience of the movie. And honestly, to me, knowing that DC has plans for Black Manta moving forward, that doesn't change, that's not going to change one bit my personal viewing experience of this movie. I don't know what Black Manta is going to do in the movie, and I don't know if he succeeds or if he fails, if he 10% succeeds, if he 100% fails. I still don't know any of that. All I know is that his heart's still beating by the end of it. He's still alive. That's all I know. So I could see why some people would consider that information a little bit of a spoiler, but I gotta say, for me, it doesn't represent a spoiler at all. But that does bring us to today's question of the day. And the question of the day, guys, is really simple. Does the knowledge that DC has big plans for Black Manta moving forward, to you, does that represent a spoiler about the Aquaman movie? Do you consider that piece of information a spoiler? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Here's how you answer. In the description of this video, at the very bottom of the description, you'll find a link to the question of the day. Click on that link and register your vote and let me know what you guys think. So, I just announced it, but let's check in and see if any of you guys have voted already so far. And so far already, as the page loads, all right, we got 87 of you who've already voted. Right now, the no, it's not a spoiler group is in the lead at 68.6%, and 31, a good third of you, 31.34% of you guys are saying yes, it represents a spoiler. But guys, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Tons of time to still vote. Make sure you click on that link, go register your vote, and we'll go over the results of the question of the day on Monday's John Campea show. Now, as far as to the last part of your question there, do I think that this information means we're going to get a standalone Black Manta movie? Not necessarily. I honestly, I don't think it necessarily means that he's going to get a standalone movie just because they have big plans. Remember, he's the type of character you could use in a Wonder Woman movie. You could use him in a Shazam movie. You could use him in a Batman movie. You could use him all over the place. Much like the way Marvel uses Hulk and Black Widow and Hawkeye to kind of populate a lot of other films, you could do that with a villainous character as well. So maybe it means he'll get a standalone movie. I honestly don't think he will get one, but I think it pretty much means that they'll use him in other films as well. I give it a 15% chance that he gets a standalone movie, but I'll limit it to about 15% chance. So possible, but I think unlikely. All right, let's move on to topic number 4.